Welcome to the Privacy Mentor Podcast, your partner in the fight against identity theft, fraud, and cyber threats. I'm your host, Carrie Kursky. Welcome to another episode of Privacy Mentor. I'm your host, Carrie Kursky, and today I have a very special guest with me. She is the Director of Brand at the global privacy technology company StartPage. As a pioneers of private search, StartPage created the first ever private search engine and recently launched StartPage Privacy Protection extension, which blocks trackers and cookies across the internet. So Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Carrie. Happy to be here.
So Kelly, tell me a little bit about, for the listeners, because I use StartPage, so I'm familiar with it, but I think this is a great tool that the listeners are going to want to know about. So let's start off with, what is StartPage and why was it created?
Wonderful. Well, first of all, thanks for being a user. Always appreciate that. The origin story of StartPage is really important for anyone kind of considering why they should care or even use StartPage. It started back in 2006, so over 15 years ago, in The Hague in the Netherlands. That's where our founder, Robert E.G. Beans, is from. And previously, well before StartPage, he was managing a meta search engine called XQuick. And he was meeting with his internal team, talking about the data that the meta search engine was collecting on individual users. And they started to evaluate down to a person's IP address, seeing people search about health-related issues. Maybe they were having, trouble with their marriage, and they were researching ways to improve that. Maybe they were having trouble with their finances, and they were looking for loan information.
Wow.
Very personal details about an individual, all the way down to their IP address. Yes.
Yeah, and details that people probably wouldn't want the general public to know. So that's frightening, and it's a great motivator for wanting to start a search engine that doesn't do that. So continue. Go ahead and tell us more.
Exactly. So Robert and the team were seeing how personal this information was, and how when you take all of those individual searches that somebody does throughout a day, throughout a lifetime, really the amount of information that you can know about a person, they felt ethically and legally uncomfortable having that information on someone.
Ethical tech companies. I love it. We need more of them.
Exactly. And let's be real too, there was a business element to this as well, because Robert also looked at who is the biggest player in the search index world, right? There's only a limited amount of search indexes. There's Google, Bing, Baidu, which is an Asian one, and Yandex, which is a Russian one. He looked at the competitors and he's like, Google's going to win this battle, right? In terms of creating the world's best search index. But from a business perspective, what is Google not good at? And privacy is their absolute Achilles heel. Right. It's how they've made their money, right? But they are not private. They do not offer privacy to users. So Robert said, how can I provide a useful search alternative to anyone in the world? Well, he wanted to be the very first search engine to provide privacy. So in 2005, StartPage launched. We don't collect anyone's IP address or personal data. And also, every single search is deleted, so you never have a search history. So you search for vacations in Florida, and you don't have that long tail where you're seeing it on your social media. You're getting emails about it. That was a one-time search. You don't have any type of tracking or history based on it past that singular search.
So that's great. And that brings up, and I heard you on another podcast where you talk about the search bubble. So let's talk about that, because this is something that a lot of my listeners, and when I'm out at speaking engagements, this is a question I get all the time is, how come I look for something and then, 2 weeks later, I'm seeing ads with that exact same thing? So let's talk about the search bubble.
Yeah, well, really, the thing that creates this bubble, right, is our algorithms. And algorithms are informed by our own individual actions. So if you search for something online, if you go to a website, even if you like a piece of social content or maybe comment on something, you start creating this algorithm based on your digital behavior. And that is where, what you're talking about, where, you see something on one place and it follows you to the next. That's where you start creating these filter bubbles around you where, you see like-minded opinions or like-minded ads, and you start to really kind of close your viewpoint on the rest of the world, because these algorithms think that they're tailoring experiences for you, personalizing experiences for you, which in some cases is really convenient, right? But in other cases, it limits your worldview. So when that starts to become dangerous is what news articles you're served,
Right.
right? If you tend to click on news articles from one political party, that bubble starts to become around voices that have similar opinions. And then you might miss out on what the counter argument is to something, or further additional research that was done by someone trying to make a different point of view or perspective. And you start to narrow your ability to find information outside of like your own mind and opinion.
Wow. And that is a great point, because right now, not only in our country, but globally, there is so much division about everything. And it seems like people want to, it's either, one side or the other, and there's no middle ground. And I totally agree. People, for me personally, I might have my own opinions, but I'm always looking for the other side, because I want to know, well, what makes them think that what I think is not, what makes us think different? And maybe they know something that I don't. So that is huge. So besides just having these numerous files of every little like and interest that you have, but it also is narrowing your viewpoint. And I heard somebody mention before that we're in the age of the greatest access to information, but yet we're the least informed. And I think this is probably a reason why, because it wants to cater to exactly what you want, and by doing so cuts you off from a good portion of the world. So that's very interesting, and I'm glad you all don't do that. So if I'm searching for something, I'm going to see all sides of it and not just a skewed version based on what my interests are.
Well, really what we provide is completely unprofiled access to the internet.
Perfect.
So we have no idea what country you're in, what location you're in. We have no idea what previous websites you've been to, what political parties you're affiliated towards, your gender. We have no information about you. If you search for a news topic on startpage.com, we have, you could even filter it out by news, you can filter it out by region, you can filter it out by date, but you're getting the front page of the internet. You're not getting what an algorithm has decided you want to see.
That's fantastic. I love that feature. And like I said, when I first found out about StartPage, I started using it because I always like to test things before we recommend it to listeners. And I will say it is very refreshing. And there are times, and I always compare, the different search engines. So I'll do the same search using a couple different ones. And I have noticed that on the ones where they use the algorithms, the search results are very different than what I will see using StartPage. So it definitely does make a difference. So I encourage all the listeners to go ahead and check it out and see for yourself. Now, a question that I have is, on this show, many times I've always told people that if you're using an app or a program and if it's available for free, then that means that you are the product. Now, in this case, yes, StartPage is a free tool that you could use. So how does StartPage make money?
Great. Well, as a business, we have to make decisions about where we feel ethical to generate revenue from, and our ethical business decisions. So we've been profitable since inception. So the day we started, we have been a profitable company without ever collecting or selling people's personal data.
Wait, you're saying it can be done? It can be done. You can be profitable.
It can be done. It can be. Right. So there's two ways to look at digital advertising when it comes to search engines. There is, the more known and widely practiced version of behavioral ad targeting. So an advertiser will go into a search or an advertising platform. They'll say, I want this demographic of a person. I want this type of browser behavior, digital behavior. I want, X, Y, and Z. You can go down to device location. You can go down to what radius they're in the world. You can get very particular and granular about who you exactly want to target with this ad, and also what you want to learn from that person. Okay. So that's behavioral advertising. We feel that that's invasive. We feel that also it's just annoying. Like if I search for something online once, I really don't want it to appear everywhere after that. Right. And so we have always practiced contextual advertising, which we feel not only respects people's privacy, but also just makes sense as a human being. So if I'm on a search engine and I search for best bicycles, and the top of the internet appears, right, of best bicycles, and then there's 3 ads on there of listed of any advertiser who has bought the search term best bicycles, that in the context of searching for bicycles, that ad makes a lot of sense. Maybe it'd be interesting for me to look at that. And so we make money when people click on those contextual ads. Okay. After that search for best bicycles, you're completely removed from our system. We don't start to follow you on other places or anything like that. You will only interact from advertising from us on that one pure search term. And we clearly mark the ads per search on the search results as web results, not ads, and then ads very clearly on the top to let somebody know that those are contextual ads.
Yeah, you do a good job at that. When I first started using it, it was really simple and really easy right out of the gate to figure out which were ads and which was just organic web search. And so really what it boils down to, no matter what search engine you use, you're going to see ads. You have to see ads. That's how companies make money. But the decision is, do you want just generic ads that'll just pop up? Or do you want ads that are customized to you because they know everything and anything about you and they're selling and sharing that with other people? So that's really the big difference.
Exactly.
So let me ask you, if someone wants to begin using StartPage, what did they do? Where did they go? What's the first step?
Excellent. Well, it's so different per person, and the way that people even search online is very different. So I'll kind of just talk about what is the easiest way to use StartPage. So one of the easiest ways, if you just want to try us out, is startpage.com. You can reach that on any browser. Go to startpage.com. You look just like a regular search engine. Enter your search query, hit enter, and like you are searching, you are on your way already to searching in private. It can be that easy. What we also offer is an extension. And what the extension does is that it sets StartPage as your default search engine automatically, so that, you're not like, oh shoot, did I search about that foot rash cream on my private search engine or on my regular search engine, right? So you can install this extension, and that means that all of your searches automatically are going to default to private. You can also search directly in your URL address bar. And you'll be getting StartPage search results. You'll be making sure you never have a search history, all with that extension. And the way to install that extension is you go to add.startpage.com/protection.
Okay.
And the other great feature about this extension, so it makes using StartPage's private search super easy, and your default option. The other part of it is it also will automatically block trackers and cookies off of StartPage. So, previously for 15 years, we only protected people while they were searching. As of this year, 2022, we now protect people from third-party tracking across the internet. So,
wow.
Yeah, so it's a great feature. You can also, it's fun to see, it gives you a privacy score per website you're on. So, okay, if this is a 1 out of 5, that means it's not a very private website. Maybe not the best one to share my credit card details with, So it also gives you a lot more control and a sense of security and power while you're navigating the internet.
Yeah, I think that's great because the more tools you have at your disposal, the more informed you are and the better choices you can make as a consumer. And I always tell people, everyone says, oh, look for the padlock and the HTTPS. Well, bad guys can buy SSL certificates and get the padlock in the HTTPS as well. So it really doesn't mean that that's a legit site. It just means that the traffic's encrypted. So by, looking for those things, and I'm not saying don't look for them. You definitely do need to look for them before you put your credit card information. But now you can also use the rating tool from StartPage to further evaluate if it's something that you want to really deal with.
Yes. Yeah. The whole point of it is to put more power in the hands of people, right?
Perfect.
Like you said before, oh, wow, you're an ethical digital product. That doesn't happen very often. The reality is we want to empower people. We want to protect individuals and allow them to protect themselves.
And I think that is fantastic. And that's why I use it. And that's why I wanted to have you all on so you could share the information with my listeners. Because really the goal here at Privacy Mentor is, like you said, it's empowering people to be able to reclaim their privacy. Because you hear a lot of people saying privacy is dead and get over it and it's already out there and it's too late. I don't agree with that. I mean, yes, some stuff is already out there, but why continue to allow it to happen? You can draw a line in the sand and say, okay, what was done in the past is in the past, but no more. They're not getting current information. They can have all the old stuff, but they're not going to continue to harvest everything. And by using a tool like StartPage, it's a great way to draw that line in the sand and start protecting yourself.
Well, I'm very thankful to you for having these conversations and helping individuals, because it can feel overwhelming to someone who's learning about how invasive online tracking is. It can feel like I give up, but there are very straightforward, easy, tangible tools, steps that people can take to take back that power. And I always equate it to the environment, right? Like, you could say, hey, I give up, we're where our environment's gone too far. There's no saving it at this point. But no, like if you take some individual actions, you can help from a personal perspective, and that can help from the wider perspective, the global perspective in the end.
So the moral of the story is stop depending on other companies to do for you what you should be doing for yourself.
Oh my goodness. Let's get like that written somewhere.
Yes.
on a sign somewhere.
Yeah, let's put that out, blast that out on the billboards, because that's really what it is. And, another thing that we always refer to is privacy or convenience, because you can't have both. And you need to evaluate these things. And if you do want to have privacy, you are going to have to give up some of that convenience. Not always, but it's that convenience of, oh, I'll just let somebody else do it for me. Or, oh, there's an app for that. Or, oh, I'll just find a company who handles all that. Well, you have to give up your info for it. So again, think about that privacy and convenience. And one way to start down that path of privacy, start using StartPage. And I use it. It's simple with the integration with Firefox, because that's who I use for my internet browser. And it is so
Excellent.
easy. I started out by going to your web page and testing it out there first. And then I just followed through with the instructions, and it said, add to Firefox. So I clicked on it, I did, and then I made it my default. And now it's so easy to do. Where some of these things, you almost have to have an engineering degree to figure out how to install, but you guys have made it really easy. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah. I mean, when it comes to the Venn diagram of privacy and convenience, like our aim is right there in the middle. That's what we're trying to get, like right there in the middle of the Venn diagram. So yeah, if anything ever feels challenging or different too, we have really extensive support articles on how to navigate private search. If you are looking for best coffee shop, we don't know where you're located. Right. So you're gonna have to put your zip code or the town that you're in, and those things might feel inconvenient. But once you start practicing it, once it becomes a part of your daily routine, it's pretty straightforward.
It is. It's really easy to do, because I've always turned that, but before I started using StartPage, I would have to use some of the other ones. And it would always ask for, did you allow, and every website now, do you allow them to have access to your location? I always say no. And then, like you said, you try to enter something, it's like, we don't know where you are. So I'll just put in, restaurants in Naples, Florida, or Orlando, Florida, or wherever I am. And it really, it's just, you're typing an extra word. It's not a big deal. Again, think about what you're giving up for that, typing that one less word.
We have a very extensive weather feature on StartPage, which
okay.
I think is one of the more underrated features that we have, and really underrated because weather is something I check every day.
Right.
So on a daily basis, I am sharing location third-party data with, if you're doing it on a non-private website, weather trackers are some of the worst third-party data harvesters. So if you just use StartPage to check your daily weather, you are going to be significantly reducing your digital footprint just by checking your weather on StartPage. And it gives you a 10-day forecast. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check that out as soon as we're done here.
Just make sure you put your city and state.
Yeah, no, definitely. Code. Yeah. Or if you want to check the weather anywhere else, so it makes it easy.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and share with everybody more information so they can learn about StartPage and hopefully take advantage of it. And real quick, how do people, if they want to get started, what are the website did they go to?
So you can try your first private search just by going to startpage.com. And if you are ready to install our StartPage Privacy Protection desktop extension, that's a mouthful.
Yes.
You can just go to add.startpage.com/protection and you'll be able to install that today.
Okay, perfect. And we'll make sure to have the links in the show notes so that you'll have access to it. Or you can also get the show notes by visiting the website kursky.com/podcast. Well, Kelly, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you sharing the information with here. And listeners, go out and check out StartPage. I think you're going to be pretty excited about it and how easy it is to use. And that's it for today. Please join us again next week for another episode. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Privacy Mentor. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, or anywhere else you listen to your favorite podcast shows. If you love the show, please share with your friends. And don't forget, give us a 5-star review. For additional information, show transcriptions, and notes, visit kursky.com/podcast.